Put the slide back up, please, that you had up for the song. What does that mean to you? What does that mean to you? I'm not going to preach the sermon that I had planned. And I'm not going to be long. For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whosoever believeth in him should not perish but have everlasting life. What does that mean to you? What does that mean to you? Does it have any meaning at all? I'm fearful that in our churches, that pastors and assistant pastors and staff and deacons and helpers and all the ministries that make this thing go, no talking, church members, I fear that we have lost that. You know what this service is about? You know the purpose of this service this morning? It is to lift up Christ and to beg you to come to Jesus. Amen. And don't sit out there with that I don't care what you're saying look on your face. Now you can do it and you can sit there with that on your face, but it's going to stop. It is not going to discourage me from lifting Jesus up and begging you to get right with God and come to Jesus. He came to us. Teenagers, what does it mean to you? What does it mean to you to come to Jesus? You know what the number one fear of people, generally speaking, their number one phobia is to be embarrassed in front of other people. Now you think about it. You think about what you don't do for Jesus, and the reason that you don't do it is because you're embarrassed to do it. You're embarrassed to give that tract out. You're embarrassed to invite somebody to church. You're embarrassed to tell somebody that Jesus loves them. I ask you today, as the pastor of Clover Hill Baptist Church, to come to Jesus. Well, what does that mean? It may mean that you're here without Christ today. You're unsaved, and the wrath of God abides on you. And you will be eternally, as we've already said, separated from God to suffer in a place that was not made for you. It was made for Satan and his angels and everyone that rejects God. But God never said, I made it for you personally. He did not. But that's where people go that reject Jesus. When are you going to stop rejecting Jesus? Well, Brandy, I'm going to use you as an illustration. She texted me on a Sunday morning, 7-8 weeks ago now, on a Monday morning, I think it was, on a Monday morning. And her text was basically, in a nutshell, I'm done running. She said, I'm done running. I know I need to be saved. I still have the text in my phone. I know I need to be saved. I know I need to get baptized. I know I need to get going. Listen at how good God is. And boy, we could testify forever on this subject, but yesterday, my wife's in Ohio now. By the way, her mother's doing much better. She may get discharged today or tomorrow, so she'll be coming home. But she was gone. Courtney got called into work, so we had just the grandkids. So guess who became mom or dad for a day? We don't mind. Brooklyn can watch the kids for a couple hours, and that's no problem. She's responsible to do that. But I just don't think that our kids should be, without one of us there for 8 hours. I mean, I think that somebody needs to be there to make sure they're doing things constructively and, not burning the house down. Point is that I didn't come out to visitation because I had to fill that role and was glad to fill it. About 1:30. There's a knock on the door, went to the door, and there was a couple gentlemen out there, young guys, 25 and 23. They were selling things. And I thought, boy, come into the spider's web. And at the end of their pitch, I said, well, you're selling something. I said, I want to give something away. And I witnessed to them. I mean, look, why should I be self-conscious about telling them about a gift, the gift of life that is free, that God offers to everybody? He offers it to everybody. It was purchased with the blood of Christ. It's been paid for. God says it's here. Whosoever will. And I said, you're selling something today, and you're giving me a good deal. I get it. I said, but I want to tell you about something that's free. And I witnessed to those two young men, and they prayed and received Jesus Christ on my porch yesterday. Now, we may not see them here. They live on the other side of Richmond. I even told them, I said, chances are I'll never see you again. I said, come out, visit our church. I'd love to see you one day. Just walk in, 11 o'clock service. And they said, we might do that. But they live a good ways away. I said, but I'll see you in heaven. Let me tell you how good God is. God, from forever ago, from the very beginning, saw that on September 24, 2024, that Courtney was going to get called into work. Brenda was going to be in Ohio. I was going to stay home. And God says, and I'm going to send these two guys by that home because their hearts are ready to receive Christ. And that pastor is going to witness to them. Now, look, I'm not saying for a second that I witness to everybody that I should. And I know there are times that I don't. And later I feel guilty about it. But that is my aim. That's my heart's desire, even though I fail at it. My heart's desire is to try to share the gospel in situations like that and others. You know why? Because one day I'm going to Jesus. What does come to Jesus mean to you? Are you unsaved? And I guarantee you we have unsaved people in this service today. I'll guarantee you that. I'll bet you. I will bet you Daniel's next paycheck that we got people in here. No, you know what I'm saying? There's unsaved people in here. And some of you know you're unsaved. Others of you question. You got these terrible questions about, I'm not sure if I'm saved. We need to get that right. You need to figure that out. You need to get your reassurance of your salvation, if that's what it is. God does not want you to live the rest of your life on pins and needles as wondering, am I going to heaven or am I going to hell? Maybe you're saved. Maybe you're away from God. Maybe you've never been with God outside of your salvation. And come to Jesus. Come to Jesus. What kind of excuses do we give for not attending church? We're all going to miss some. I get that. I mean, we're all going to go out of town, for some of our newer people. I don't want you to think that, sure, we're going to do these things. Sorry, but I'm going to use this family again because they don't mind. The day you said you didn't mind, I think it was Father's Day. They were out of town and they weren't going to come back until Sunday. They were going to drive back. I think, if I don't get all this right, just give me some grace. And then they made a decision. They were out of town on some sort of little getaway, and they made a decision. You know what? Let's go back tomorrow. Let's go back Saturday so we can be in church on Sunday. That's what come to Jesus means. It means sometimes instead of taking 2 weekends off in a row, you just take one. You leave on a Monday and you come back on a Friday. And you got basically 2 weeks, but you only missed one. What does it mean? I'm not preaching about church attendance. I'm not preaching about any one thing this morning. I want to know, and I'm just throwing out things to give you, for you to hang your hat on and say, yeah, I don't witness. Yeah. Hey, I don't support the church financially. Yeah. I miss a lot of services for any and every reason that I can find to miss a service. I do. Yeah. I'm not involved. I haven't found my niche anywhere in the church yet. Look, and I'm doing this for you. I have a sermon for Daniel chapter 9. I struggled with it there, but I've got it all figured out and ready to go, and I'll just preach it next week. God said, just forget that today. Preach on come to Jesus. What's holding you back? What's holding you back from witnessing? What's holding you back from being more consistent in your church attendance, which, by the way, is where you're going to grow. I go up to somebody, hey, brother, it's good to meet you. Clover Hill Baptist Church, I'd like to invite you to come out and spend a Sunday with us. I do God my own way. And when people tell me that, here's what I think, and I know this is true. Number one, you may not even be saved. If that's your spirit and your attitude, you're probably not saved, and you don't have that, Or number two, you're not doing God at all. Don't give me that. People that don't go to church really aren't doing God, if you want to talk to it. They really don't have a relationship with the Lord. Not a close, the one that's on fire, and no. God's people, God's family, God's church is God's setup. It's His setup. Who are you hating today? You say, well, I don't hate anybody. Okay, who are you mad at? Who are you mad at? Who got under your skin? Because it wasn't them, it was Satan. But who's under your skin right now that you're a little bit, come to Jesus. Give them forgiveness. Mercy. Where would we be without the mercy of God? Where would we be without the grace of God? We'd be condemned on our way to hell. That's exactly where we'd be. Teens, everybody look at me. How many of your friends are going to hell? How many? Now, rhetorical. Means you don't have to answer. How many of your friends, and you haven't one time invited them to church. You haven't one time said, listen, you may think me weird, but whatever. I need to tell you about Jesus. How will you feel one day if all of you are saved? I mean, I don't really know that, but how will you feel one day if you are saved and you make it to heaven to watch person after person after person after person appear to a great white throne judgment of Christ when He condemns everybody to hell, and you say, and they'll look, maybe they look at you and you lock eyes, and maybe their big question on that day will be, why didn't you tell me? Now, I'm not saying everybody's going to hear, but your best friends and your friends will receive it more quickly from you than they will somebody they don't know. How many are you going to watch go by, and there you have heaven in your back pocket. You're going to spend eternity with God, and you're going to watch them walk by to be condemned to hell because you didn't say anything. How many of your coworkers? How many of your neighbors? How many of our neighbors? Have we not walked over to their house and said, listen, come with me on October 13th? And this is not about that. This is just about coming to Jesus today, folks. It's about coming to Jesus. It's not about any one illustration I'm giving, any one area. It's not about that. It's just come to Jesus. Come unto me, all ye that labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest. And our answer to that is, well, I will when I get tired. I'll gladly take advantage of that when I get tired. And Jesus says, no, but I want you today. I want you working with me today. I want to get yoked up with you today. And there'll be no excuse why we don't do that. I'm not doing this for me. I'm not. There's not a selfish bone in my body in that way. I long for you. I long for you to have that relationship. I long for you to get involved because you're the ones that are just will not be rewarded one day. You're the ones that will have great regret in heaven. You'll have great regret for a life wasted down here. When it's just not that hard to come to Jesus. It's not. He gives us the strength. He gives us the power. He gives us a desire if we are wanting it. I'd like for you all to stand, please, at this moment. In an attitude of prayer, please, head bows, eyes closed. How many of you this morning will say, Pastor, I'm going to rededicate. I'm going to rededicate my life. I'm going to make coming to Jesus a more important part of my life. Now I'm going to ask you to come down. No music being played. In an attitude of prayer, how many people would come and join me and say, I'm with you, Pastor. Let's do this thing. Let's do this thing. Come down front. Come down front. Join me down here. Join me down front. I'd love to see everybody come down. And look, this is not saying you're a perfect person. It's just saying that I want to keep coming to Jesus for the rest of my life. And maybe coming down front is a representative of praying for somebody in your family, somebody you know, somebody that needs, that they need to come to Jesus. And they need somebody to stand in the gap for them. If it gets full down here, just take a seat on the front row or just fill it in wherever you can. This is what it takes to experience God right here. This is what it takes to experience God right here. It's to say, I'm willing, I'm open. It's to say what Peter said. Jesus says, I'd like to talk to you. And Peter said, say on. Say on. I am with you. I am listening. And how I want that for you. How I want that for you. Every person in here. This is what's called true worship, folks. This right here. True worship is not raising your hands in praise. That's praise. True worship is surrender. It's surrender. The devil said to Jesus, fall down and worship me. Fall down and worship me. Wanted Jesus to bow the knee to him. It's about surrender. Worshiping is surrender. And that's what this is about this morning. God bless you. God bless you, folks. have a word of prayer. Father, we come to you today. Very different service, very different. But I believe, led of you. All I've done, Father, led by your Spirit, is just overflow onto the people this morning. That's all I've done. It's not a thought-out message with points and illustrations. It's not. It's an overflowing of what's in my heart. Father, bless our church and bless these folks. Bless these folks that have said, I'm in. Say on. Say on, Jesus. I'm coming to you. What's my next orders? Give me my marching orders. I'm in. I want to go. I want to serve you. I want to be in the army of God. I want to fight in this battle of light and darkness, good and evil. Come to Jesus. Just ask Him to lead you. Surrender your will to His. Ask Jesus to lead you, folks. Ask Him for His grace and power and mercy. Oh my goodness, how we need His mercy to do His will. And He has a design, He has a will for each and every one of you. Lord, back to you. God bless these wonderful people and bless everybody that's here this morning to give another time to be in this service.